My topic per se is nutritional challenges in women. And I would like to start with, some insights regarding how the global framework has now focused a lot on gender sensitive nutrition priorities. So, if we look at the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals that we are looking of UN, now, we see over there that there are 17 SDGs, and of these, many are directly or indirectly linked to food and nutrition security. Further, we also understand that in the Tokyo Food Summit system in December 2021, they highlighted the urgency of transforming food systems and achieve these SDGs. In 2012, when the World Health Assembly met, they set six important global nutrition targets, and those were related to low birth weight, exclusive breastfeeding, child growth, that is, wasting, stunting, and overweight, and anemia among females of reproductive age. Now, from 2012, definitely we have come down a long decade. Currently, there has not been much which has been done in order to review these, targets and see where we are with respect to achieving these targets that had been set by the World Health Assembly. Now, if we look at the three sustainable development goals that are primarily related to nutrition priorities, we look at SDG 2, which is zero hunger. And we always observe that women face higher food insecurity, impacting the life cycle approach. We see intra-familial differences in the food distribution, societal differences in access to food for women, and this in turn is going to impact pregnancy. SDG 3, which is good health and well-being, it addresses maternal health and reduction of disease risk through nutrition intervention. And we are looking at SDG 5, that is the Sustainable Development Goal 5, which I would say is, very pertinent with the topic that we are, addressing today, that is gender equality, focusing on reducing malnutrition that is gender based. We always see that, malnutrition in women is higher when compared to men. Now, this is the global prevalence of certain problems that has been pictured by UNICEF. We are looking at underweight women, underweight adolescent girls, and anemia. The global prevalence, if we look at it for underweight adolescent girls, that's 10 to 19 in the year 2016, it has been said that 8% of adolescent girls globally are underweight. Now, these underweight adolescent girls will eventually enter pregnancy with the underweight status. And definitely that's going to have repercussions when we are looking at the intergenerational cycle of malnutrition. Underweight women, we are looking at a higher number. That's 10% of women in the age of 20 to 49. That's when they go through pregnancy and lactation, numbering something like 154 million women who are underweight. And anemia, 15 to 49 years, we see that there is a 30% prevalence of anemia, which actually translates to about 571 million in terms of absolute numbers. Now, the latest data that we have in India for assessment of nutritional status is NFHS 5, the last national family health statistics that were available, which was done during the years 2019 to 2021. Now, I have some statistics from here regarding the prevalence of undernutrition, anemia, etc. Now, if you look at this particular slide, we are seeing that among women who are 15 to 19 years, or let me say adolescent girls, that's the last window of adolescence before they actually enter into adulthood, the national prevalence of anemia, that's hemoglobin less than 12 grams per deciliter, is a staggering 59.1%, extremely high. Even in the high human development index states like Kerala, we are seeing that it's 32.5%, which means to say approximately 1/3 of the adolescent girls are anemic. Now, if we are looking at the prevalence of pregnancy among the 15 to 19-year-old girls with respect to the NFHS 5 data, again, we can see over here that close to 7% of the girls are pregnant. Okay, which means to say that although we are talking that, adolescent pregnancy, is a matter of serious concern and things like that, here we are seeing that 7% of the adolescent girls are already pregnant at the time of survey. Further, if we look at women aged 15 to 49 years, we are seeing again a prevalence of anemia at 57%. Again, if you look at a state like Kerala, which is 36.3%, high human development index state. And if you look the other side, there are states like Tripura and West Bengal where we're looking at close to 70% prevalence of anemia. Women whose body mass index is below normal, that is, they have a BMI that is less than 18.5 kgs per meter square. All India statistics, we are looking at close to 18.7%. And this is indicative of the fact that 1/5 of our women are undernourished. Okay, which definitely is something for us to worry about, basically, because they are the ones who are the bearers of the future generation, and that's going to actually kind of aggravate the problem of the intergenerational cycle of undernutrition that we are, facing already. So what we have done so far is actually looked at statistics with respect to the global and the Indian scenario. Now, pregnant women aged 15 to 49 years who are anemic, the statistics is 52.2%. Again, we are saying that half of our pregnant women are anemic. Now, this is a conceptual framework of malnutrition from UNICEF. What are we understanding? That we have 3 levels of causes that are responsible for malnutrition in any population. Specifically here, we are looking at maternal and child undernutrition. So when I look at the basic causes, I have inadequate access to services, which in turn is going to be leading to household food insecurity, inadequate dietary intake, which will be giving short-term consequences like morbidity, disability, and mortality. Further, we have inadequate financial and human resources, which in turn is going to be leading to inadequate foods, feeding, and care practices, again, propagating or compounding the problem of maternal and child nutrition. We have the socio-cultural, economic, and the political context, where we have the house, environment, and the health services, which can further lead to diseases. Now, we understand that these basic causes, the underlying causes, and the immediate causes all are in turn actually going to be causing long-term consequences and compounding the problem of maternal and child undernutrition, which, like I earlier said, is going to have intergenerational consequences. Now, what are the factors that are contributing to compromised nutritional status among women? If I look at the socioeconomic disadvantages, it could be poverty, illiteracy, a lower level of education, limited employment opportunities, and poor decision-making power. There's poor access to healthcare, that's inadequate health services, unsafe abortions, gaps in medical infrastructure and access, and definitely gender discrimination or bias in healthcare. When we look at the reproductive, nutritional, and maternal health challenges, we have early marriage and childbearing, pre-existing malnutrition, increased nutritional requirements during pregnancy and lactation, for which the women are not prepared. They don't have enough reserves to be going into a healthy pregnancy and lactation. Definitely poor dietary diversity with very frugal diets, repetitive diets. That compounds the problem. Gender-based violence and discrimination, there could be sexual abuse, domestic violence, gender bias in intrafamilial food distribution. We often see that in, many houses, the biggest, serving of a non-vegetarian food preparation is probably given to the male in the house, not the woman, even if she's pregnant, even if she's lactating, I don't think there is a very special consideration which may exist. It's not a rule, but then yes, we do observe that there is gender bias in intrafamilial food distribution. We have the environmental and cultural barriers, that's poor environmental hygiene, low purchasing power, and restrictive social and cultural norms. Now, this is from, the BMJ article where they're talking about nutrition through life cycle, the proposed causal links. Okay. So we look over here that there's fetal and infant malnutrition, which in turn is going to be causing inadequate catch-up growth, causing child malnutrition. Now, this child malnutrition is associated with reduced intellectual potential and reduced school performance, inappropriate food and healthcare that's going to be compounding this problem of child malnutrition, which in turn is going to continue to adolescent malnutrition. Adolescent malnutrition is again going into pregnancy, low weight gain, adult malnutrition, elderly malnutrition, where we're going to be seeing reduced capacity for care, higher mortality rate. There are a number of societal and environmental factors which kind of add on to this vicious cycle of nutrition through the life course, where we are not able to break this cycle. Now, when we look at the long-term impact of malnutrition and the critical first 1,000 days, we all know that fetal programming occurs during embryonic and fetal development. And we know that when there's insufficient nutrition that is provided during this point of time, there are permanent alterations to certain structural and physiological metabolic effects in the fetus, which we call as the Barker's hypothesis. Subsequent to that, we have the first 1,000 days, which is a critical window. Okay. But here also, what happens is that we might not be able to address these pertinent issues during the critical window. But if we are able to address it, there could be optimal development. So the first 1,000 days are very, very critical. But yes, I think the awareness regarding first 1,000 days is still frugal in many setups. The fourth point that we should be looking at is breaking the cycle by supporting early life and maternal nutrition to break the cycle of malnutrition and contribute to healthier and resilient populations. So this is what we are looking at. There's an intergenerational cycle of malnutrition in mothers that is leading to LBW babies, poor fetal development, perpetuating malnutrition from infancy to adulthood. The root causes are food care and environment. That definitely has got a lifelong impact, as we have already seen earlier. There could be educational and cognitive decline and increased disease risk. I would say it even enhances the risk of NCDs. Yesterday morning, I was in one of the sessions where both the speakers were talking about how Indian babies, when they are born, we have more fat, the body composition is altered, and we are at a risk of NCDs earlier in life when compared to the Western populations. We're looking at nutrition during adolescence, the adolescent girls specifically. We do know that adolescence, that's the 10 to 19-year-old period, is a critical period for any growth faltering that has taken place prior, during infancy, childhood, school-going stage, etc. But we still know, even from these statistics that we saw earlier during these deliberations, that adolescent malnutrition is extremely prevalent in India. They are a neglected populations. The girls remain neglected in global nutrition efforts despite the critical importance of this life stage. And we have a double burden of malnutrition, that's both obesity as well as undernutrition. We know that adolescents are extremely prone to consuming more junk foods because of peer influence, and their food habits are very, very erratic. Nutritional status affects future aspirations, fertility, and definitely adolescent pregnancies increase the risk of poor maternal and neonatal outcomes. Okay. And when they enter pregnancy from adolescents, when they go to adults, again malnourished, and then enter pregnancy as malnourished adults, again the risk during pregnancy is very, very high. Now, adult womanhood is associated with pregnancy, lactation, all the physiological stress, the enhanced nutritional requirements that are associated with pregnancy and lactation. Definitely, it's a very challenging period in the life of a woman. Okay. Uh, the government has a lot of programs to combat malnutrition in pregnancy and, programs to address supplementation in lactation. We still see that there's evident prevalence of malnutrition in pregnancy and lactation. Subsequent to that, the woman is coming to the stage of menopause. During menopause, we have estrogen reduction, menopausal symptoms. Definitely, the woman is going to a stage of positive energy and iron balance. There is body fat accumulation towards the abdominal region. So, there's an increase in central obesity with a reduction in basal metabolic rate. Iron stores build up. There is an increase in inflammatory markers like CRP, interleukin 6, etc. The physiological changes that are associated with menopause include increased blood pressure, increased fasting glucose and glycosylated hemoglobin, increased blood triglycerides and cholesterol, decreased peripheral skin fold thickness. We are looking at sarcopenia, that is, protein is going to be actually lost, muscle is going to be lost. Reduced pulmonary functions, decreased bone density, osteoporosis is a major public health problem in women of the menopausal stage. Decline muscle mass and grip strength, as I'd already mentioned, and increased risk of cardiovascular diseases, other NCDs, and geriatric syndromes. So, when we look at the life cycle approach, we see that, throughout there has been a lot of additional nutritional demand and at menopause. Definitely, we are going to be seeing that the change is related to increased risk of NCDs. Now, here again, this article from the British Medical Journal is talking about improving nutrition throughout the life course, immediate initiation of breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, adequate complementary feeding from 6 months, continued breastfeeding beyond 6 months, energy and nutrient adequate diet, micronutrient supplementation as necessary during childhood, healthy school meals, adolescent dietary advice in order to bridge this gap that exists with respect to adolescent malnutrition. Pre-pregnancy dietary advice for both adolescent girls and women, diet and micronutrients during aging as well as pregnancy. So when we take a life cycle approach like this, addressing each stage with special requirements, probably we will be able to break this vicious cycle of malnutrition that is existing. So, like I already said, breastfeeding can be commenced immediately after birth, including colostrum, exclusively for 6 months. Infant and child nutrition, ICAWH practices can be adopted, adolescent nutrition, maternal and elderly nutrition. Now, what are the recommended actions to improve women's nutrition? Prevent and control anemia. I have a dedicated slide to anemia. I will highlight that in that particular slide. Reduce the risk of LBW, maternal anemia, iron deficiency. Promote healthy weight gain and adequate nutrition during pregnancy. Ensure access to reproductive health care. Promote the protection of working mothers to sustain breastfeeding and improve pregnancy outcome in undernourished pregnant women. So I think so far what I have done is kind of summed up all the problems that are existing. Now what I will do is I will go on to the different strategies which have been adopted both at the government level as well as what can be done in order to overcome these nutritional challenges in women. So, if you look at the summary of key policies that have been adopted by the government of India to improve maternal nutrition and maternal diets, we started way back in 1975, close to 5, 6 decades back, where we looked at the ICDS. ICDS provided nutritional meals, preschool education, immunization, etc. From there to 20 years down the lane, close to 1993, we progress to the National Nutrition Policy, which recommended nutrition specific and nutrition sensitive interventions. Again, 2 decades down, we went on to the National Rural Health Mission, which provided accessible, affordable, and quality healthcare, including nutrition to the rural population, especially targeting the vulnerable groups. Then we had in 2007 the National Food Security Mission, which envisaged to increase the production of cereal grains through area expansion, productivity enhancement, and enhancing farm level economy. 2013, we went on from the National Rural Health Mission to the National Urban Health Mission, providing healthcare needs, including nutrition to the urban population with a focus on urban poor. 17, we launched the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. It's a very prolific terminology that has been used with maternity cash incentive scheme to provide conditions for safe delivery and nutrition practices. 2018 on, we have Poshan Abhiyan. The National Nutrition Week has now become the Poshan Abhiyan, the Poshan Month, actually, National Nutrition Month, where we do the Poshan Abhiyan initiatives, and they are very clearly spelled out. So, Poshan Abhiyan basically is a flagship initiative of the Government of India, which strives to promote nutrition through intersectoral convergence, technology, and community mobilization. And we launched a strategy which is called as the Anemia Mukt Bharat strategy. Then we had Poshan 2 in 2020, and 2021 we have the National Rural Livelihoods Mission. All of these definitely have been functional, but have they really made a dent in reducing malnutrition is something for all of us to introspect. Now, the ICMR has come up with this wonderful healthy eating plate in the year 2020, where we are saying that, fruits and vegetables should be something like 500 grams per day. Pulses, eggs, and flesh food should be 90 grams per day. Nuts and seeds, 20 grams per day. Fats and oils, about 27 grams per day. Cereals, cereals, and millets, 270 grams per day. So this is something, which can help to overcome the nutritional challenges that women are facing today. We do have a protein paradox in India. 93% Indians are unaware of the ideal protein requirement their body needs. We do understand that, in pure vegetarian diets, definitely there is a protein deficit. A recent Indian Consumer Market 2020 report confirmed that Indians spent only one third of the food budget on protein rich food. I think that's one of the triggering factors for a whole of companies to come up with protein rich beverages and protein bars, and probably we would be able to overcome this protein deficit with this information and the product line that has come into the market. So there's protein paucity, poor protein knowledge, protein pinch, the source of protein in the diet remains a mystery, protein psych, abundance of misinformation. So definitely all of us should be consuming something like 1 gram per kg body weight of protein. Now, looking at iron, we are looking at anemic adolescents who become anemic women. We have maternal anemia, child anemia. So this is the vicious cycle. How could we break it? We could look at food-based interventions. So there are fortified foods. We could try to look at various factors which influence the absorption of the non-heme iron. So we have the enhancers, vitamin C, amino acids, carotenoids. We could enhance it. We could reduce the inhibitors, phytates, polyphenols, oxalic acid, and calcium. And we could also look at traditional pre-roast techniques to enhance the bioavailability of iron, like roasting, boiling, germination, fermentation, etc. We could also look at enzymatic techniques like phytates, digestive enzymes, etc. And we could also look at other options like, sprinklers are used and various iron-rich supplements are used nowadays in market. Definitely, we could look at probiotics and prebiotics also to enhance the health and nutritional status of women. So, probiotics are microorganisms that live in the gut, and prebiotics are food for the microorganisms. Diets that are rich in good probiotics and prebiotics are good for the overall health and well being of a woman.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes,
Sorry
I'm
to
done.
bother you.
La-
Please.
last slide, ma'am. I'm done. All right. So this is a rainbow diet where we have color classification. Different kinds of fruits and vegetables can be included in the diet. So the key takeaway points from the presentation, we could consume a variety of food groups, include multicolor natural foods, focus on fiber, probiotics, prebiotics, and functional foods that are rich in phytoestrogens that will help women's health. Avoid portion distortion, consume seasonal fruits and vegetables. So to eat is definitely a necessity, but to eat intelligently is an art. So this is my last slide. Thank you very much.